Hello, so what I'm going to show you how to do is create a building using assets, individual assets, using prefabs now. This can apply to Unity, Godot, Unreal. I'm working in Unreal because this is what I like to use and feel most comfortable in, but it's the same principle across all of them. If you look at our website or YouTube, you can find building prefabs in Unity, Godot, and Unreal, which will get you to this starting point, so to speak. They're incredibly handy to use and very important to build scenes quickly and things. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these individual assets here, not all of them, but some of them, to create buildings. They all, as you can see, they're all separate. We've got our support beams over here that are each individual, and we're going to turn them into something like this. Great thing about prefabs is in Unreal, I'm pretty sure you can do it in Unity and Godot as well, as you can create all sorts of customization scripts. So in here, if I go to my roof, I can change the color of the roof. All the planks change, as you can see down the side here. It's our beams. It's a very funky house. There we go. So yeah, you can see that they can have brilliant possibilities in customization, because obviously you can duplicate that and say, right, I want the same. I want a blue roof, or purpley blue. There we go. So blue roof there. You can see what I mean. You've got all this control over it. So yeah, here we go. We want to open up our prefab. We've created it, so as I say, you should have followed the first tutorials depending on your program, and this will lead you to your view, your scene, or whatever. So we'll have a window similar to this depending on your program, and what we want to do is go to our meshes. All of these can be downloaded on our website. So yeah, they're all there. So we'll start with a beam. So let's just choose that, drag that in. Where is it gone? Good start, there we go. So as you can see, it's in our thing. So what I like to do is I like to drag the prefab into the scene so you can see it being built as you're going along. So back to our meshes. So go to our planks. So as you can see, we've got now our planks, so we can duplicate these. I'm just going to do something very quick here. I'm not going to spend hours getting it spot on. Important thing is to have your grid snapping on, because otherwise you can see there it's locking properly to a project. I think I need to snap these over a bit. So yeah, what we go back is go. So again, I've got snap points on the rotation. Just makes everything easier. Obviously, you don't want to use snap points when creating. What's the best way to explain it? Human element. You'll see, if you put something in, when something's built, it's not perfectly, generally not perfectly straight, and it adds to that element that if you do a slight, if you look at those two posts, that's the best way to explain. If you look at these two posts, they're identical. They're, exactly the same post, but you can make it a little bit more exciting by turning off the snapping, or exciting but interesting by turning that off, and then you could go, right, yeah, I'm going to rotate that one. So when you're looking at it in the scene, they don't look identical. When you're looking at it, so you're going past something, this one's lent out, that one's upright, whatnot. What I've also done with these assets as well is every single side of an asset, let me snap it back on, is different. So you've got 4 variations on each post, so you have enough creativity there to do whatever you want to do. So back to this. I always use snap points just because it's the best way I found personally to do it. So obviously this stuff isn't really modular. You can get modular stuff, which is, we do some of that, which all literally snaps together. You put it on, like, say, a 10 or a 50, 100, and they'll all literally snap together. So that's how they create, like, huge, great cities and things like that really quickly. Sorry, I'm talking too much here. Let's get going. So as as you see, it's assembling in the scene. So yeah, we'll use that for the minute. So back to our think. Probably want our 2 planks. This, when creating stuff, there is no right or wrong way of doing stuff. It's really down to what you like, and especially with stylized stuff, you don't really have to think about so much. Oh, that doesn't look like right. That window doesn't do this. That doesn't do that. Obviously you've got to have a sort of element of reality in everything you do. Otherwise, in building, in everything you do, because obviously you could have a 40-foot door for a 6-foot man. It just wouldn't make sense unless you're obviously doing something with giants in, for instance. But yeah, you're not so restricted. Obviously, you've got to have your correct perspectives and that. And I always, when I create stuff, I'll drag in the Unreal Mannequin. I haven't for this because I know roughly what the size of all the assets are as I made them, so that I know that the door, you walk through a door in reality, and you can see, well, I've got, in my case, about half a foot from the door, top of the door, so I base it off of my height, things like that. So it's always good to have correct perspectives. Now, so roofs. So let's try. Let's do that one. So with the roofs, I've created them individually. I found when I was creating stuff, it was a bit of, the roofs were actually one of the pains to create something that can snap together. Because I originally modelled the roof so that they were complete like this, but as you can see, you run into that problem there, that, well, if the person wants a wider building, what do they do? So these are always, I always find these difficult. I'm sure there's someone will come along and go, well, there's a really easy way of doing that, and if they do, great, tell me, because it blooming well help me. So oops, I'm just doing, as I say, something rough here. I don't want to spend too long. It's just to give you guys an idea of how it all works. As you can see, I'm sure you probably understand now. Again, it's really down to your imagination, and your attention to why. Like, if you could leave it like that easily, but as you can see here, it's overlapping. There it doesn't look right, so you could either have the post inside this or outside this. It's probably more sense like that, and then you do little things like tilt it a little bit, and it just adds a sense of almost care, is what it is. And that's how big budget games, well, not big budget, indie games as well, the ones that stand out have care and attention. You can spend hours and millions creating something, but if it doesn't have care, like you look at the Witcher series, in my eye, they put a huge amount of detail into what they do, and research and everything. It's crazy, but it shows because people buy their games, spend a huge amount of money. Also, when you're looking at stuff like this, you want to make sure that okay, you look at that and think, oh, you might like that. Personally, I don't, so I'm going to drag it in a little bit. But you've got to also look at it as that, well, would this building hold that beam? So it's that you want a sense of it more likely it's going to hold something like, say, that. So yeah, so you can see we've got a rough building there. It's quite a flat building, so we can easily change that by changing your asset. So let's have a look. What have we got? Let's try this one. It's a bit more. This can be applied to anything, not just buildings. It's one of those that it is literally can be applied to anything. Whether you're creating scenes with foliage in or whatnot, it's really down to your imagination. So yeah, that'll do for now. And obviously you use the same principle again with planks. You could either do that or whatever. I've got in the pack here. You've got loads of loads of different types of plank, whether they're short, long, whatever, to help you build what you want to build. So what we'll do is we'll add. I'll leave that for the minute. We'll create. Let's have a look. Let's add a bit of. Let's plonk a cannon in there. Again, up to you where you put it. Ooh, if I can grab it, would be a good start. I can go up there. As you can see, it's sort of starting to take shape. Spin it. We'll probably want it pointing up. So that's that. Got things like lights in here, so you could grab a light. These have all got emissive controls on them. Why is that not doing that? There we go. Which we've got tutorials on that as well. So if you have a look at that, I'll explain how you do all this. These emissive stuff gives it that sort of light bulb glow, candle glow, whatever. Just adds that extra sort of detail, really. It's sort of important. So we'll go back here. I'm not sure what went wrong there. Right. As I say, this applies to exactly the same principle applied to Godot and Unreal. If it comes to it and people want it, I'll do a tutorial for those as well. But I just thought it'd save me time and work just doing it in one, because it's, as I say, it's the same thing. Let's back over here. Sorry if I'm a bit quiet. I'm not often the best speaker, especially I get sort of concentrating on what I'm doing, and I'm sure everybody gets that. So as you can see, we're sort of getting somewhere now. So it's sort of coming together. Let's have a look. So talking about that human element here, like the ladder's perfectly straight. What we can do is you can go like, right, I'm going to squiff that a little bit. I'm going to knock this off. Because the human eye's very good at picking up the slightest little things, and if it looks at something and goes, well, that's identical to that, that's identical to that, it's, you know, no care. Not care, well, no, I suppose it is no care. Things like repetition and that can make or break a scene. If you look at like how property renders, where they take an architectural thing and turn it into a 3D thing, often the sort of your bog standard person would, I say bog standard, your sort of learning modeler would create the scene. It can look absolutely stunning, but what everything is like, you have your knife and forks, your chairs, they're all perfect, they're all spot on at a 90-degree angle or a 45-degree angle, things like that, and in reality they're not going to be. So, you know, people come along and it's where it differentiates the really top modelers and designers. I'm not saying I am, by the way. Top modelers and designers, that's where their attention to the little things are what makes the scene a scene, you know, that you'll remember when you look at computer games and things like The Last of Us and things like that. It's the little things that matter. So I think we're pretty much set. I'm not going to go into fill in all these things, it just takes a huge amount of time, but it gives you a good idea of what to do. Let's add a palm tree in, shall we? Just so. So that's great example is there. It's perfectly straight. Squiff it off a little bit. Because you could. So if I do this, if I duplicate that, right? You look at that. It's identical. It's not something you particularly want. Why is that doing that? I think that's because I've done that. I'll come back to that in a sec. Oh, it's because I've built this out of squiff by the looks of it. Oh well. You look at this, they're identical. Everything's facing the same way. Leaves there, that's going up there, that's going up there. You can use the same tree. You know, if you turn that slightly, there you go, it looks different. Lean it in, maybe lean it over. And then it's a matter of what do you like the look of. Like, that's perfectly, it's too perfect in my eye. So you move, say that over there. That there. Yeah, man. So the great thing about prefab is, say, I've got as far as I want to go with this. I hope this helps. The great thing about this is say we can have this scattered all over the scene. Where's my snapping gone? There we go. You can have this scattered all over the scene. Like I've said, you know, obviously you wouldn't put them like this, but you put them, you know, one in a cliff, one in a, then you know, over here you've got, was it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 variations of a building, and those 6 variations of building appear all over the pirate scene, but they're positioned differently because they're interesting. You know, you can obviously position, say, that one sideways like that because that's slightly different. Obviously, when they're buried in a scene, no one really notices it. It's only when they're next to each other you think, hang on a minute, I've seen that building. So you can do that. Obviously, I'm giving you a very rough example of something here. So, drop one of these over. Oh, wrong way. So I'm just trying to stimulate a little bit of interest in the scene. Same with the rocks here, you know. I've done it so, well, I'm not just the only one, loads of people do it too, that you can create loads of variations out of one rock, you know, just by turning it. And so as you can see, obviously things like the trees give it away, but you know, they're not all identical. But what you can do, so is if we go back to our prefab, is you think, I don't like the trees. There you go, instantly gone from all of them. You can add stuff to it, you know, if we wanted to add, let's think, what have we got, let's do, I know this is going to be ridiculous because you want to have them on every single one, but there we go, so you've got that, size it down. Yeah, so that's how you create buildings using our assets. This can apply to any assets you buy. Creating prefabs, you know, you could have a pre-bought building like this, and then add stuff to it using a prefab. But yeah, that's how you assemble individual assets. As you can see here, there's quite a few with the rocks, all of these little bits. It's really down to your imagination, and then you can add in Unreal. I've used a construction script. We can use event scripts, things like that, to create this. I'm sure you can do the same in Unity and Godot. It's really just down to coding ability and whatnot. I'm not comfortable in those to know that. It is something I could look into if people wanted to know. These again are individual. These are prefabs again, sorry, these are just to give people examples. When they purchase the pack, they look at it and go, oh yeah, I can do this, I can do that with it. So you see over here, we've got windows, which can be put into any of these. You know, it's really to give people as much idea as possible. I've created shelters, bridges that you can go, oh, snap those together, snap those together. Ooh. So you get the idea. So obviously, just got to drop that down. We can go and drag another one in, and yeah. So suddenly you've got a bridge, and then you could add these pole and ropes to it if you wanted to. So just go like that. Again, you can. I've done these. This is a prefab pole and rope. The bridge is a prefab. You could put the rope in the bridge prefab if you wanted to. I've done them individually because I thought that it'd be more flexible for people, so they're not limited to what oh well, I'm stuck with that pole. But yeah, there you go. I hope that's been a help. Let me know if it hasn't, and I'll be more than happy to help.